Looks like we have quite a few people already showing up, so we will go ahead and kick off this webinar. First of all, good morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world or the United States, and happy Friday. What a great way to end Friday by getting to hear some student perspectives on public procurement. My name is Dan Kruger. I am the Academic Affairs Manager here at NASPO, and I'm excited to have three wonderful students with me today who will introduce themselves in one moment. Before we get started, I just wanted to give you guys a couple of quick housekeeping notes. As we go through, I know there will be questions, so please put the questions in the Q&A box. You can see that right there in your Zoom bar where you can see participants and so forth. Please put that in the Q&A box and we will view those as we go, but we will answer those at the end of the students' panel discussion. If you would like to unmute yourself at the end of the panel discussion when we are taking questions and ask your questions out loud, that is perfectly fine. When we get to that point, I will let you know. Another quick note is at the end of this presentation, there will be a survey. If you are doing this to receive one UPPCC credit hour, to get that hour, please complete the survey. At the end of the survey, there will be a question that asks for your email, and we will collect those emails and send you your certificate at the beginning of next week. All right, so before we get started, I just wanted to run a quick poll question for everyone. I'm going to go ahead and have that pop up on the screen. We just really wanted to know how many of you have had internships or types of projects in your office recently. All right, awesome. Should have everyone completing those now. Great, thank you. So we will go ahead and move forward with introductions. It looks like a lot of you have done internships previously or plan to do so in the past. So that's great to see. So I hope you guys get a lot of great ideas from the student interns that we've worked with over the summer. So let's go ahead and move forward. I would like to introduce to you Whitney. Whitney is from Michigan State University. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Dan, for the introduction and putting this panel discussion together. Just a little bit about me is I'm Whitney Wilson, and I'm a senior studying supply chain management at Michigan State University. Go Green. I'm finishing up my undergrad and graduating this upcoming May. I was born and raised in Port Huron, Michigan, where I have some of my fondest memories with my family and friends. And over this past summer, I did a 5-week-long project-based internship with NASPO, where I worked with the research and innovation team. In my spare time, away from school and work, I love to travel, work out, and enjoy time with the people I love. And on this slide, you'll see my time spent in Thailand, where I'm representing my school. And this was all right before all this craziness happened with COVID, and it was back in December, and I wish I could go back. And overall, I'm just super excited to be on this call with you today and hope you enjoy this panel discussion.
Excellent. Thank you, Whitney. Next up, we have Courtney, who is also representing Michigan State University. Courtney, will you please introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Thank you, Daniel. Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Polkowski. I am a junior supply chain management major at Michigan State University. I will be graduating in May of 2022. And fun fact, even though I am from Ann Arbor and I grew up there my entire life, I do bleed green through and through. A couple of things I'm involved with at Michigan State. I am part of the executive board for Michigan State University's chapter of the Supply Chain Management Association. This is our undergraduate student organization for those who are a supply chain management major. I can talk about that a little bit more going forward. I'm also the career fair director for Michigan State Supply Chain Career Fair, which we will be hosting February 4th from 2 to 7 p.m. And again, I can elaborate a little bit more if anyone is interested in that as well. I am also the team lead for the Michigan Export Growth Program for the International Business Center at MSU. We provide pro bono international market research to small Michigan companies looking to either begin the export process or find new markets that they haven't potentially tapped into yet. And lastly, I am a student member for NASPO, and please feel free to connect with me below.
Excellent. Thank you, Courtney. And then next up, we have Dinesh representing Arizona State University. Dinesh, will you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Dan. My name is Dinesh. I'm from India, an international student here at Arizona State University. I'm second year full-time MBA student. My concentration is supply chain management and business analytics. I'll be graduating in May 2021. I'm also VP of Business Analytics Association at ASU. And my role actually is connecting students with the leaders in analytics field. During this summer, I interned with NASPO as a data analyst intern with the technology team. And these are my contact details. So if you wish to connect.
Perfect. Thank you, Dinesh. And thank you to all of our students who are here participating today. As the academic affairs manager here at NASPO, one of my goals is to get students more involved with the public procurement world. And this is one of the ways I plan to do so. I've also heard a lot of feedback from members within NASPO who mentioned that they would like to connect more with universities, local colleges, students, and so forth, so they can learn more about how students are learning about the world of public procurement, doing projects, and so forth. So that is what this panel discussion will hopefully accomplish today. And I hope you guys take away several key points that you can take back to your office. Before we get started, I know Courtney mentioned it, but all three students you see in the panel are student members of NASPO. This is something that we launched earlier this year in the spring, right around the time the pandemic hit. So it kind of got hidden away because of everything that was happening. But I did want to remind everyone that we do have a student membership group here at NASPO that just kicked off this year, and the students are excellent. A lot of them have either had experience with public procurement or are some of the top students in their supply chain programs around our academic partners. If you are a member and would like to connect with the student membership group, please let Olivia or Maya know on our membership team here at NASPO, and they will get you access to that student membership group so you guys can post opportunities in there, start discussions with the students, and so forth. Or if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm happy to talk a little bit about it all. So without further ado, let's get started with the panel discussion. One of the first topics I wanted to cover in this panel was how students are discovering public procurement. We all know it's various across the nation. Some states and schools have courses in procurement, some don't. Some students are finding it through internships and more. So I wanted each student to kind of go through and talk about how they discovered the world of public procurement. So Whitney, will you please kick us off and talk a little bit about how you discovered the world of public procurement?
Yeah, of course. So in my senior year of high school, I decided I wanted to go into business. And once I came to Michigan State University, I kind of had a struggle trying to decide which major I wanted to go into. But once I decided to go into supply chain management, I started to become familiar with the different roles I could take on. And from the get-go, I became interested with procurement-based role. And so I searched for internship opportunities to get experience within procurement. And so I used my networking skills on campus, especially at the career fair, to land myself an internship with Stryker to work in a purchasing procurement role in the New Jersey office, which was later unfortunately canceled due to COVID-19. But I knew I couldn't let that stop me. And so I went out and I reached out to my advisor, Kelly Lynch, and he looked out and was looking for some opportunities that were available despite the pandemic. And that's when he heard, I'm pretty sure from you, Dan, about the NASPO opportunity. So he let me know about the opportunity. I did some research and applied for this role. And thankfully, I was able to land an interview and ultimately accepted the offer. And thankfully, I enjoyed my time working with the RI team and was just so blessed I was able to find this opportunity.
Awesome. And can you kind of, you mentioned Kelly. Kelly's one of the contacts I work with at Michigan State, but can you kind of explain what Kelly does for you as a student and kind of what he does for the university?
Yeah, Kelly is an unbelievable contact. He is the link between corporations and students. So he's not an academic advisor. He's the advisor that gets in touch with corporations and then brings the opportunities to light for students. So he's also the advisor for SEMA, which Courtney's on e-board for and I'm a part of as a member. And so once I decided to supply chain, he came and did a presentation for SCMA, and that's how I came to know him. And then ever since then, I've had plenty of meetings with him talking about opportunities, and he's helped me network and make these roles come to light.
Great. And Whitney, during this pandemic, you know, a lot of students lost internships. They lost different roles that they had for the summer. You know, can you tell us a little bit about that experience and how you had to overcome that, you know, negative experience in your college career?
Yeah, it was definitely overwhelming to say the least, because I was a little behind the role when it came to internships. I was originally an accounting major, so I switched last October in 2019 to supply chain. And a lot of supply chain majors can do internships early on within like their undergrad, but because I was accounting, I didn't do that. And from switching, I was able to graduate early, so I'm graduating in 3 years and not 4. And so when I knew that was the summer I needed to have an internship before graduation, it was very stressful. So that's why I worked closely with Kelly, because I knew with his help I could definitely find a opportunity.
Great. And that's great to hear. You know, there's several contacts like Kelly Lynch at all the university partners we work with. So I really encourage our members to either reach out to me so I can connect you with those state academic partners that we have, or help you connect with other local university and college connections that I can help you find that are a little bit closer to you or in your backyard. So please let me know if you have any of those questions. Next up, we want to hear from Courtney a little bit about how she discovered the world of public procurement.
Thank you. So I actually stumbled into public procurement. Same as Whitney, I had a previous internship with Domino's Pizza this past summer that they kept pushing back, and then ultimately rescinded due to COVID. And I was a sophomore this past summer. It's very, very rare for sophomores to, first of all, find internships, and then it's very hard to keep that going. So once I lost the Domino's internship, I'm like, what am I going to do now? Am I going to do classes? Is there something else I can work on? And as Whitney said, Kelly Lynch reached out to me because of my experience with the International Business Center and having a very deep understanding of research and background. He's like, the state of Michigan is doing a internship with NASPO, with Michigan State University. We're all coming together to create opportunities for students that have had their internships rescinded due to COVID-19. It's a second chance for you. Totally, you should apply. Do it today. So I applied, I met the team, and I wouldn't trade my internship this past summer for anything. I absolutely love the state of Michigan procurement team. I love the research that I did. I didn't know anything about public procurement at all. It took me an entire week to figure out the contracts and how they work, and connecting with the team, figuring out, okay, here's who I go to this for this certain contract, and this is the buyer I go for this contract. And once I figured all of that out, it made a lot of sense. And I was able to go forward with doing the research and providing some really cool key findings and recommendations for the state of Michigan.
Perfect. And Courtney, kind of talk about how you had to approach, you know, all the struggles that you had this semester and this whole entire year, basically, with COVID-19.
Not quite sure where to start with that. There's a lot that's been changed. The Michigan State University moved their classes all online starting mid-March, and we've been online ever since. This entire past fall semester has been all online. So transitioning from in-person and having an in-person internship to searching for something virtual that would be accommodating to classes, it's been very tough. Keeping like an organized schedule has been hard, making sure you're keeping up with everything. All my classes are asynchronous as well as work, as well as the internship. It was very flexible, which I was very thankful for. But then again, you have to have a lot of motivation to make sure you're staying on task and on time. But...
Perfect. Thank you, Courtney. And next up, we will move over to Dinesh and have Dinesh kind of talk about his experiences with NASPO this summer.
Of course. So how I discovered public procurement. So prior to my MBA, I already have like 8 years of experience in sales and business development. So for 2.5 years, I worked with one of the largest multinational companies in Asia, and I was managing their statewide B2B sales. And I was on the other side of the table of the procurement officers. So although my involvement was more on a purchasing side, my interaction with those officials exposed me to the procurement in government organizations. That was my first exposure. My second exposure came from my MBA. That was during my first year, I had one of my class on strategic procurement that was taught by Professor Michaela Polyview. And in that class, one of my colleagues gave a presentation on procurement in public sector. And I think that was my second interaction with public procurement. It was a small one, but I get to know about how public procurement actually works. And my third exposure was when I was looking for the internship for summer. NASPO reached out to our career service team for their internship opportunities. And then Olivia from NASPO Valley Point, she contacted me. And of course, when I was going through the internship interview process, I did a bit of research about the procurement, how those agreements works, how those contracts are actually formed, and what portfolio actually mean. So after that, I get to know about the public procurement in much detail, and that was my maximum exposure. And then I started working as an intern with NASPO, and there I got to learn about the different RFIs, RFQs, how a master agreement is formed, and how other states use those PAs to get their purchasing done through those master agreements. So that was my exposure to the public procurement.
Great, perfect. Thank you, Dinesh. And there's been one common theme that I've seen amongst all three of our panelists about how they found out about public procurement, and that was opportunities. They found opportunities. They spoke with their advisors about opportunities. They really, took the next step, especially with the middle of a pandemic going on. They took that next step to find those opportunities, and I think that's really important to note, because the more opportunities we can provide for public procurement internships and so forth, the more opportunities we are to get more young professionals like the three we have on the webinar into the world of public procurement when they actually graduate. One question I have for all the panelists, and we'll start with Whitney, you could answer this question first, is another thing I noticed amongst all of your internships is that it was virtual. This was something that was new to not only public procurement professionals, but students this year. So can you just kind of talk about how that change kind of affected the way you went about your internship and kind of the methods you found that worked best for you? And we'll start with Whitney for this.
Yeah, of course. Like Courtney said, my internship was kind of flexible too. So being an organized person, that's definitely something I had to stay on top of. I set goals and what I wanted to get accomplished each week to make sure that my project would be finished by the end of the 5 weeks. And yeah, it was nice to be in the comfort of my home and do it virtually, but ultimately it was disappointing not to be able to be in person, because that kind of gives you more of a real life experience. But my team was super supportive. They cracked jokes all day, and it was just made me feel like included and really part of the team. So ultimately I wouldn't change anything about it. And with this world has come to with COVID and not knowing what's going to be coming the next day, it's valuable to have a virtual experience, because down the line, every company could end up just being virtual because it's easier to be at home, but you never know with what things are going forward with.
Awesome. Dinesh, do you want to answer that question a little bit about how the virtual internships kind of changed your approach to internships this summer?
Of course. So before the COVID, I was actually expecting to be on site because being an MBA student, for me, the networking comes first, and it gives you, more opportunity to learn from all the business leaders. So that was my main idea, that I have to be on site, but of course, because of the situation, I couldn't. I think NASPO did really good work with managing this internship virtually. We had our team meetings every single day, every morning, and then all the projects were actually communicated properly. But one of the things which I actually missed was being there and having to have that conversation face to face, so that I can actually learn on real time rather than having to fix a meeting and then being virtually sharing the screen and everything. So that was one of the thing I think I would have missed. But apart from that, everything really went really good, and all the projects were done, smoothly. So I cannot like complain about it. It was a good one, so I enjoyed it.
Great. Thank you, Dinesh. And Courtney, can we hear your perspective on this topic as well?
Yeah, I actually think the virtual environment made my internship easier because there's a couple of reasons. My internship was actually 2 in 1. I originally interviewed for, there was the technologies buying side and then the commodities buying side. And there were 2 different internships and projects. And I ended up working on both. And so because it was virtual, it was very easy to split my weeks. I would work with the technology team for the first half and then commodities for the second half. And I could easily switch between the projects and reach out. And the state of Michigan did a fantastic job making sure that, everyone is open to questions. Please feel free to reach out to anyone on the team. Even though you're a student intern, you can contact anyone you want. And so that made my job super easy because the first week I was able to contact all the buyers for the specific contracts I was working on and say, hey, can we set up a Zoom meeting? Can I meet with you? Can you walk me through this? I don't really know how contracts work. Can you just talk me through this? And they were really, really nice about it. And the second thing was that I didn't actually have housing in Lansing for the summer. Michigan State University is very close to Lansing, thankfully, but my apartment contract did not start until the last week of August. And so because it was such a fast turnaround, I wouldn't have been able to find housing if it was in person. But because it was virtual, I could easily, 2 weeks after the interview, I could start right away. It just very flexible and easy to move from one thing to the other.
Perfect. Thank you, Courtney. And that's something I've discussed with some members as well, is the world that we live in right now has only created virtual opportunities. And it's really good to hear the students' perspectives on this because you want to be able to adjust your virtual opportunities to kind of meet their needs and what they need to be successful in that role. So thank you for your perspectives on that. So let's go ahead and switch gears to the next topic in this panel discussion, and that was procurement projects that you guys worked on. Each of you kind of did some different and unique things. Like, for example, Courtney didn't do a full 3-month internship. It was a kind of a limited experiential learning project that she did for a certain amount of weeks. It wasn't a full, from, May until the end of August type of internship. So I'm going to have each of them kind of discuss what they did this summer and what they've done with procurement in general. And then we'll kind of answer some questions after that as well. So Whitney, will you talk about what you worked with us on this summer?
Yeah. Like you just explained with Courtney, mine was also a project-based opportunity, and my main focus was on the state preference laws repository. So from the get-go, I knew my goal to my project was, it was very clear what the picture I needed to get accomplished in my 5 weeks. And that goal was to update the repository so that it was accurate source for people to find on the NASPO website and for people to also reference to when there was a question about state preference laws. The first step to my project was to research them and find the most up-to-date state preference laws and taking notes of each of these laws, like what they entailed, their codes, the links to these laws, and put them within an Excel sheet. And once I was able to find each one of those preference laws, I sent out emails to state POs or other representatives within those states so I could confirm or adjust my findings depending on what they had to say. And after I received information back from each state, I would update the confirmed information into a program called Airtable, which is like the end source for the repository. And in the meantime, waiting for responses from those representatives, I started to make some infographics or picto charts with the updated information and helped my lead Becca edit the old white paper based around those state preference laws, so it was updated information. And at the end of my project, my team gathered so I could present to them my findings and what I learned throughout my internship experience. And recently I just found out that this project will be released about next week, so stay tuned for that. And overall, I gained a lot of insight to the world of working in procurement and appreciate the support from the R&I team.
Excellent. Thank you, Whitney. And as that project is released, I encourage our members to go review it and, just kind of see what we did and what Whitney worked on with the R&I team this summer. Thank you, Whitney. Courtney, will you kind of run through what you did with the state of Michigan this summer? I know you did a lot of work in your short time you did with that you did have with the state of Michigan, but I know you did some incredible work. So will you please run through that?
Sure. So I was part of the state of Michigan's COVID-19 relief efforts by helping them find ways to reduce spend on some of their key contracts. And the two contracts that I mainly focused on was Oracle America, working with the information and technology side of the procurement, and then Staples, focusing with the commodities side. This was actually supposed to be split up into two different internships, one for technology, one for commodities, and they ended up combining them into one for me. So it was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks for one project. And then because I took on both of them, they extended it to 7 weeks, which was perfect because by the time everything got settled, I began working at the end of June. So first one I worked on was Oracle America. This one ended up being a little bit definitely difficult. Anyone who does technology procurement will agree with me on that. You know, the contract's 1,000 pages long. It's for someone who has never done public procurement before. And that was the first contract I opened up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm working on. And there's how many of these? But the internship was extremely heavily research based. It was the first one of its kind for NASPO to launch. They weren't quite sure if a student would be able to come in fully prepared to look through databases, be able to find information on other states' websites, and find recommended savings. And so Oracle America was definitely the most challenging one because first off, we had to establish what the state of Michigan's discount was. They didn't actually know. And so a quarter of my research for that was collecting and finding all the data on that contract alone. Where's the purchase reports? What are we actually spending? What are the list prices? And then the second part of that was researching through as many states as I could to see if they also had Oracle America contracts. What discount were they getting? Is it the same list price that we have? And overall, despite hearing that the state of Michigan, they thought they had the best price, they didn't. And so I was able to see, okay, the state of New York actually has a fantastic discount. Why is that? What are the external factors? Are there things that we can compare? Because comparing technology contracts is so difficult because they're all different, as many of you who work on those would know. And so figuring out, what can I compare? What are some things that you can bring to the table when you're negotiating this contract? Because to get savings from this contract would be absolutely key. And so in the end, I was able to find $400,000 worth of savings $3,000 worth of savings, overall $7,000 for the entire project that they could potentially use. And then I made an Excel spreadsheet. And when Oracle came back through the renegotiation process and said, this is the discount that we want to have overall, would you accept this? And I was able to run through my spreadsheet, pull that, stick that discount in and say, no, we'd actually be paying more if we use this discount. This is the right one that we should be getting in order to obtain savings through this next signing of the contract. The second contract I focused on was Staples. And this one was really fun for me because almost every state had a Staples contract. And so I was able to pull all of that data into one huge giant Excel spreadsheet and figure out, okay, the state of Michigan originally thought that they had the best pricing for all of this. And I found out, in a lot of cases that wasn't true. There was actually a lot of states that had fantastic discounts on certain things. Spending wise, they were spending less. And so I was able to throw that all into one spreadsheet, analyze that, summarize the data. And then I also looked at key market trends. I used a couple of different procurement databases for this to figure out, what are the trends? The price of paper is going up and was going to continue to go up. There's a couple other products that were going to continue to go up. So I was able to recommend, hey, if you're gonna re-sign this contract, you should sign it sooner than later to lock in those current prices that you have to make sure that they don't go up anymore and you're not paying more in the future. Perfect. And all of this will be published on the NASPO website. Daniel can elaborate more on that.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Courtney. As of some of you might have seen earlier this week about Wednesday, I did post this in the directors community in the NASPO network. So you guys can review the reports that Courtney put together from her time with the state of Michigan. Michigan gave us permission to do so. So I feel like that will definitely be helpful if you guys are looking for similar projects in the future, or just kind of want to run through some of the things that Courtney found during her time with the state of Michigan. Thank you very much, Courtney. Now let's move over to Dinesh. I know Jonathan loved having you on his team this summer working on data analytics for us. So Dinesh, can you please tell us a little bit more about what you did this summer?
Of course. So this summer I worked on almost 6 projects with NASPO. So my first project was the contract requirement collection. It was actually about what Courtney has mentioned, reading all those master agreements and different contracts of NASPOs, collecting specific information from those contracts, and listing all those in a spreadsheet so that that can be uploaded and then analyzed. So that was my first project. My second project was summary sales analysis. That was specifically for one of the specific portfolio of NASPO. And it was more about understanding how that portfolio has grown over the years. What was the sales in year by year changes, detailed study of the sales by region, vendors, and also providing the insights on top performing vendors for that specific portfolio. The third project which I did was actually developing one go no go framework. And this was one of my favorite because it has both the parts, analytics and of course my MBA knowledge. So it was more on the strategic side. So this project was about developing a framework to analyze the performance of a portfolio for re-solicitation decision by analyzing the viability of the portfolio. And it used looking into the participation from the states. That means how much a state is spending, like government is spending on that specific portfolio. Looking by spend from the market side, from the specific state side, analyzing the market, understanding market trends, market sizing, supply chain risk, and what are the future business opportunities in that market for that portfolio. Another point was analyzing financial viability. That means, is NASPO, after getting that portfolio done, is NASPO going to get better ROI on that portfolio or not? So it was more about the understanding of the financial impact of that portfolio on NASPO's business. And last but not least was the resource allocation, which was required to make this portfolio viable. How many people will be required? What resources we have to devote to a specific portfolio performance, otherwise it will not work. So that was a really good experience for me to understand actually public procurement, understand how the whole system works, and also utilizing my own MBA knowledge in making that a strategic decision. The next project I did was utilizing that go-no-go framework analysis on specific portfolios and making sure that I provide better recommendations for that if that portfolio has to be continued in the next years or not. So I implemented that go-no-go framework on 2 different portfolios and provided insights and recommendations to the NASPO board members. And the last project I worked was the membership engagement team, which was the Olivia team from NASPO. It was more about the how members interact with NASPO services, how many services do they use, on what level are they using, what is the trend in their uses, and how they can actually improve utilizing the data that they can increase more engagement from the members. So these were the different projects I've worked on, and I really loved working on these projects because they gave me more opportunities to interact and also to learn.
Perfect. Thank you, Dinesh. As you can see, all 3 of these awesome students did a lot of work this summer. They really kind of buckled down, got to work, brought in fresh, new, rejuvenating ideas for some of the stuff that they were doing. And it was great to see and also hear about. One reason why I wanted them to talk about the projects they worked on was to give our members other ideas of things that you can bring to your office over the summer or over the school year, the fall, the spring, whenever. There's a lot of students out there who are working on, new things like this, or can bring some fresh ideas, or come and help, kind of get some information together that you really need put together in your office. And that's what they're here to do. They're here to learn and grow. So I really appreciate you guys all talking about what the projects that you worked on this summer and what you brought to the table. So let's go ahead and transition into the next topic of this panel discussion, and that's promoting the industry. One thing as I started here at NASPO, and I've been here about a year, that we really wanted to focus on was getting more students to know about the world of public procurement. It's not an easy task, it's not, Boeing, it's not those big supply chain private industries. It's public procurement. You're working for the state, you're working for your city, you're working for the communities that you live in. And we wanted students to know that. So let's go ahead and hear from each panelist about what they think are some of the best practices to promote the industry to young professionals like themselves. So Whitney, how about you take it away and start off by telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, from my own experiences, there are different ways industries have caught my attention in networking and recruiting practices. And one of the main ways to promote this industry is being heavily involved on campus. It allows students to recognize and become more familiar with the industry. That's how I've come to know like a lot of my high interests in different industries, whether it be public procurement or medical field. And some of the best ways to promote on campus is by being present. And now that everything's virtual, it's a little bit more difficult. Before everything was virtual, one of the main things that Bro did was allow companies to come in and set up tables in the hallway. So when students were going between classes, they could stop and talk to these professionals and learn more about the company or what the industry has to offer. And it doesn't take really time out of the student's day, but it allows them to get engaged and learn more about what the industry is and what they could do if they were to work within the industry. Career fairs is also an essential way in promoting the industry. Students always are looking for opportunities to get experience, and if you participate in the career fairs, this really pushes students to go out and research this industry to see if this is something they would be interested in being a part of, and maybe getting an internship or a full time within the industry. And another way is seminars. So this is like a good start. So this is a webinar, but it's not for students. So if we were to do something similar for students, they have became really apparent, especially during the pandemic. You can go on Handshake and sign up for these seminars so you can learn more about the company or the industry to see if this is something you'd be really interested in getting involved in. And afterwards, there's questions. So this is also like a networking opportunity for students. And one of the main things college students are looking for right now is a strong, enjoyable culture to work within. So if you promote the industry and the culture it brings, and how this will bring students to be more interested in the industry, because everyone's looking for a great place to work and that has a culture that is enjoyable to be with and be working with people that are enjoyable to be around. And alongside of promoting culture, having past interns be advocates helps promote this industry. Students normally trust their peers and their experiences, and having past interns explain their positive experiences within the public procurement would really push more students to be more attracted to this industry. And lastly, a major flaw in the recruiting for public procurement is a lot of students are not aware of what public procurement is. So if you participate in these on-campus events, then they can learn the responsibilities or day-to-day work life within public procurement. The insight alone will bring more students to be interested and come to know the industry.
Perfect. Thank you, Whitney. One of the ways that you mentioned on here is career fairs, hallway visits, promoting the culture, being involved on campus. And that's something that as an academic affairs manager, I really take pride in. I want to get more involved with all of our academic partners like Arizona State and Michigan State. So as I attend these events, of course, I'll be posting them in the community so members can see. And if you ever want to attend with me or you need help connecting with a local school or university, please let me know, because some of those ways that you mentioned at first are some of the key ways to really get visibility on campus. All right, and I know we've got some questions and some hands up. So what we're going to do is we're going to answer those questions at the very end. That way we give the panelists plenty of time to kind of go through their points, and they might even answer some of your questions as we go through some of the next key topics. But let's turn it over to Courtney to kind of talk about some of the best practices that she thinks are important to promote the industry to young professionals.
So one of the biggest things that I see for promoting public procurement is to show students that they can make an impact in this industry. Michigan State, as the #1 school for supply chain management, we get a lot of companies coming to recruit our students. We see them all the time. And our generation, we want to make a difference. We want to show, we don't want to just be a number in an organization. We want to have an impact somewhere. And with public procurement, you need to really engage with that idea with students, promote that. Yes, you can make a difference. The projects you're working on, they benefit your state, your community, the people you know. You're not just a number. You're not just procuring something else. COVID-19 is a huge one that you can focus on. The state of Michigan is doing, as many of you are probably doing as well, a lot of procurement for PPE equipment. That's huge. You're saving lives. A lot of supply chain students, we want to be a part of that. We can't, there's a lot of industries and a lot of companies that we can't make that big of a difference. We're someone small. So really, really, really engaging in that aspect with students, show them what they can do. And also the benefit to the students themselves. They can put anything they work on a resume, have them share that with their team, their school, their students, have them talk about that, have them be really proud. I am so proud of the work that I did with the state of Michigan, because even though in the big scheme of things, it's small, it's helping them. It's helping with COVID-19. It's helping my state. And that makes me feel really, really good. The second key aspect is making the projects challenging. Don't be afraid to give students something a little bit difficult. I kind of just threw myself into my projects. I knew nothing about contracts. I knew how to do research, but the databases that I worked with, I had never worked with before. So I had to get a little bit of teaching on that. And then I just kind of ran with it, and I had luckily I had a really great support network behind me in case I had any questions, but it was really fun to do a challenging project. It kept me motivated. It kept me excited to keep working on it. And so don't be afraid to give students something a little challenging, a little harder than you think, they might not be able to handle. They'll step up to the plate. If they're the right student for you, they will step up to the plate and execute the project really well. Connect what they're learning in the class to the industry. I can speak for students at Michigan State, but for a lot of supply chain schools as well. The majority of our students have taken or will have taken a upper level procurement class. I'm currently in a business law class, actually, because I really liked working with the state of Michigan. I wanted to know about law and contract law. Feel free to connect that in any way you can to the project. Feel free to throw in any type of supply chain procurement terms you want. Students should be able to understand them. If they don't, they should be able to, work with it and figure it out. Connecting that, showing, okay, here's what you learned in the classroom, here's how it applies in real life is really, really cool. And lastly, as I touched on previously, creating a supportive, collaborative environment. If you're going to give a student a challenging project, make sure that they have someone they can talk with and connect with. One of the great things with the state of Michigan for me was I could reach out to anyone on the team. So I could talk with the specific buyers of the contracts. I could talk with the finance department and, okay, here's how the spend contracts work. But that gave me a lot of motivation, a lot of encouragement. Okay, if I have a question, I can go to these people for help instead of kind of being stuck in where do I go with this? I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. So having that environment, because a lot of students aren't going to know a lot of key terms in public procurement. So just helping them through that. They'll be able to figure it out eventually, but they might need some guidance firsthand.
Perfect. Thank you, Courtney. A lot of great points that you brought up there. And of course, for the sake of time, so we make sure we have time for Q&A questions, I want to turn it over to Dinesh to kind of talk about some of the best practices he thinks are best for promoting the profession.
Yes, of course. So I agree with Whitney and Courtney on the ideas. So I think my ideas are almost the same. The first one is awareness. It's when you want to promote something, you have to make people aware of what those things are. I think my first 2 points are actually the same almost. So it's not just about the public procurement, it's about what these people actually do. What is their role, how they contribute to your daily life, so that when you relate that to person on the personal level, it makes it impactful, right? So you can share those experiences, and that will help you and others understand what public procurement actually is. The second is increase the number of opportunities in the field. So I think this is the first time I have like when I was doing the internship search, that was the first time I heard about any internship in public procurement space, and that's also because of the NASPO. So if I don't know about it, there's a high possibility that others also don't know about it. So you have to increase the opportunities. This another point is utilize this school specific event, as Whitney mentioned. Go to those career fairs and talk to career service team, promote on social media. Right now, that's like you can find all those students there. So that's the best way to promote yourself. Next is use the school relationship, your academic relationship, career service teams. They are the people who can actually help you not only promote, but also find the right talent for your organization. So that's another resource which you have. And most importantly, but not the last, is you have to actually tell them what is in that public procurement sector, what it's going to give them in general. So Courtney talked about the challenges. The current generation wants to have to see the impact what they are working on. So you have to show them that, okay, this, if you do this kind of project, or if you come into this public procurement, you will be able to contribute to this area. And with COVID-19, we have seen this, the not able to get the PPE on time, and how those supply chain professionals can actually help all those PPEs to reach to the general public on time. If you can show that relation, I think that's the best way to promote your public procurement.
Excellent. Great points, Dinesh, especially the social media. That's something that's become very heavy for a lot of companies to use to get students attracted to the industry, as well as to promote the industry, so students even know it exists. So great points. So let's go ahead and move over into the last topic I wanted the students to talk about. And they've hit some of these points that they're going to mention here in a second already, and kind of led into it already. But I really wanted them to talk about ways to get students involved, not just promote the industry, but how to get them involved in your office or in the state office or whatever it might be. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to Whitney and let her kick this off.
Like Dan said, getting students involved not only promotes the industry, but gets the students super involved. So like I mentioned before, having events on campus helps students get involved while they're finishing up their studies in school. Hosting events like a case study night not only will get students to know the industry better, but it allows them to get insight of real life examples of public procurement scenarios. Case studies are valuable because a lot of students are getting interviews where they utilize case studies, and so having those experiences within case study scenarios will help them in interviews and learn more about public procurement. Info nights also are another great way to get students involved. Info nights provide information to students about the industry and what opportunities the industry can provide. A lot of students really enjoy working during school just for either extra money or extra experience. So if you could maybe provide more of these project-based internships, 5-week-long opportunities or more, depending on what the project is, it gives them the opportunity to have a part-time job or internship within public procurement and give them insight of public procurement alongside a valuable experience within the industry. And from my own experience, having a project-based internship was insightful and allowed me to see what it was like to work within a team-based environment around procurement. And lastly, kind of expanding off what I said earlier about seminars, most students like to participate in seminars that are relatable to their interests in business world, alongside of how the industry combats issues, for example, like how maybe NASPO or the state of Michigan is combating COVID-19 and everything that's going on with the pandemic. By hosting seminars, students can learn more about public procurement and become more interested in what the industry has to offer, and shows them job opportunities. And by showing them job opportunities, also show them how to apply and how they can get involved with public procurement by giving them those opportunities to apply.
Excellent. Couldn't have said it better. Thank you, Whitney. And then, of course, we'll go over to Courtney and have her kind of talk about ways that she thinks getting students involved will help the world of public procurement.
So the biggest thing that I could recommend is engaging with your supply chain management departments at your state's universities or with some of the top supply chain management programs in the country. Kelly Lynch, he's been mentioned numerous times on this webinar. He's our Director of Corporate and Public Relations for the Supply Chain Management Department. His main role is to connect corporations who would like to work with the supply chain department at Michigan State and work with students. He bridges that gap. So if companies have a specific internship position, he will connect them with a student that he thinks best fits. But he also runs our supply chain council companies, and these is a membership at Michigan State. I forget how long it's for, but these companies get first dibs on presenting. We're the ones that we go to for our student organization. They're the ones we pick first when we have general membership meetings to present for us. They're the ones we reach out to first for case studies. They get first dibs on the career fair. Being a part of something like that at your local university, top universities, is crucial if you want to engage with the student population. The second is connecting with your university's chapter of the Supply Chain Management Association. Every university that has a supply chain program will have an undergrad student organization. And we have meetings every 2 weeks. The state of Michigan actually just presented last week at our general membership meeting. And so we are always providing opportunities for undergrad students to engage with companies. We invite them to do presentations on different topics. The one the state of Michigan presented on was, that entire meeting was solely on public procurement. So students at Michigan State know what public procurement is. They are fully aware of NASPO and of the state of Michigan and all the opportunities that exist there. And as Whitney mentioned, becoming a familiar face, be involved on campus, recruit. There are so many opportunities. We are always looking for companies to judge case competitions, to provide problems for case competitions to solve. The career fairs. If you are interested in Michigan State's career fair or any of the university's career fairs, please feel free to reach out to me. More than happy to provide you any information on that as well. Market your brand. The picture I actually have here is our SCMA club that took a state of Michigan procurement. They got a whole tour. They absolutely loved it. They kept raving the whole year about the event. So great way to get involved with students on campus.
Perfect. Thank you, Courtney. And then, of course, Dinesh, we would love to hear what Arizona State and what you think are some of the best ways to get students involved.
Of course. So in my opinion, to get the student involved, the first thing will be the hand-on practices, the way Whitney and Courtney actually talked about. Give them the challenges, like, organize case challenges in your own sector. We are not even talking about going to the school and then organizing there. Have those independent case challenges and then promote them. Have specific projects for students to work on. In this way, what you can do is you can come up with a small project for your own self and just say, okay, this is the project, who wants to do it? Because there are many consulting organizations and also different student organizations in different schools, which actually promote students to do these projects so that they can be more familiar with the area like public procurement. Second part is collaborate with the universities. I have seen in my public strategy procurement class, we had Point B Consulting, came up with their own consulting project, and then they gave that project to us to work on. That was a real life project, and it gave us more insights. Create those projects, come up with small lectures and collaborate with the professors in the university. Give that a small lecture for public procurement. That will give more insights into public procurement, and students will be able to learn more about the public procurement from the experts who are actually working in the field. Next is sponsor events. There are different organizations, graduate organizations, undergraduate organizations. Sponsor those events with these organizations. That way, it will not only give you opportunity to market yourself, but also to interact with all those students who attend those networking events. Another point I'll say is the providing the competitive financial benefits. Most of the people or students who wants to work in corporate life, they are looking for something apart from the impact they can make. They want to have a specific status, and of course this is being more on a financial side, but there are other benefits which you can provide, and let them know what are the benefits. If they know about all these benefits, there's a possibility that they will come looking forward to public procurement. And when we talked about the projects, I was really fortunate to work on the challenging projects which NASPO has given me, and the project which I actually like. So when you give those when you decide to go for the internship and getting students on those internship projects, make sure that you relate those projects with their own interest. For example, if somebody is interested in the technology, give them some projects which relates to the technology, so that you are actually intersecting, you are meeting the person in the between with his own interest and also what he wants to do in procurement side. There are other areas also. For example, there's healthcare specialization in supply chain that also helps. For COVID example, I can say one of my colleague actually worked for Mayo Clinic, and it was not even an internship, it was just a small project. But because he had interest in healthcare, that was the project which gave him more understanding, and also he was really happy. So provide those kind of challenging projects and make those projects predetermined, not after you get that student enrolled in the internship projects, because once he knows what project he's going to work on, he'll be ready to face the challenge upfront. So these will be the way you can actually get a student involved.
Perfect. Great points, all three of you. Really good points. So because we're running short on time, I'm going to go ahead and transition into the questions. And it looks like we have 2 or 3 already in this box. And I'm going to start with this one first because it's directly related to Dinesh. When you did the member engagement project, and this question is from David in DC, but when you did the member engagement project, did it include life, honorary, and associate members at NASPO?
Yes, the membership engagement team project, it include lifetime members, honorary members, and also the student members. So it was more about how many events do they attend, how long they have been member with the NASPO, and what are the benefits they can get from the membership. So it include all the members for the NASPO.
Perfect, awesome. And then this question is for the whole group, and we'll start with Whitney, and we'll work our way through everyone. But what type of work, culture are you looking for from a potential employer? And Whitney, you go ahead and start that off.
What I'm personally looking for is like an inclusive culture, someone who may be team-based, where I can reach out and feel comfortable with working with other people and not feeling like I have to just kind of push through and bulldoze through the work by myself. If I have a question, I'm concerned about something, I would really like to work with a team environment and feel inclusive and positive, like positive vibes, I guess. I want to, that's mainly what I'm looking for at least, but also a challenging work area. So not where I'm just going through the motions, getting work done, but something that's challenging me and making me feel like what I'm doing is worthwhile and pushes me to be the best I can be, not just working to work, basically.
Excellent. Thank you. Dinesh, let's turn it over to you and hear your thoughts on this question. What type of culture are you looking for?
Of course. I think I agree with Whitney. It's more about like collaboration, open to communicate and share your own thoughts. So that culture gives you opportunity not only to just work on the projects, but also to learn from the experts who are in the field. So I totally agree with it. And also with the challenging projects, because if you do not have the challenging project, if that hunger inside you is not fulfilled, then you will never be able to enjoy the environment. So the balance between these two actually goes really well. So I totally agree with Whitney.
Perfect. Thank you, Dinesh. And of course, Courtney, what are your thoughts on this?
For me, as I'm currently looking for internships right now, my biggest factor is a collaborative and supportive environment. I want to be able to push my limits and take on as challenging projects, but I also want to be able to, if I have questions or issues, I want to be able to reach out to someone and, have them answered and have someone, supporting me through and through. I'm willing to take on as many projects, but I want to make sure that I have someone that I can reach out to in case I need help on anything. It really helps with everything. I'd also like a high level of technology used. I am looking for something that revolves around, statistical, analytical, anything that you're using Tableau, our programming language, Alteryx, any of the kind of higher level software programs that would be something I would be most interested in.
Perfect. And this last question is for the entire group, but it's a pretty quick question, but it's also a very excellent question from Michael Jones. Knowing what you know now, would either of you consider accepting a job offer from your state procurement office if a position is available? And Whitney, we'll start with you.
So right now I'm in the recruiting process for full-time since I'm graduating in May. So if the opportunity was available, I would definitely interview and look more into it. My role with NASPO this summer was more on like the national level, not a state level. So I definitely would talk to Courtney about her experiences or other people within the state level to learn more about that. But yeah, I would be open to an opportunity in the midst of my recruiting process.
Excellent. Thank you, Whitney. And then we'll go back to Dinesh. Dinesh, knowing what you know now, would you accept the opportunity?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because being an international student, I think opportunities are limited. But I'll still say that after this internship, I get to know more about public procurement and, of course, the impact it can have, not only on me, but also what impact I can have on general public. So that makes it more productive for me. And so I'll say yes, I'll be open to getting that position. And yes, I mean, it will be really interesting to work in the area where actually you can have both of your hunger fulfilled. So that will be a good idea. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dinesh. And then Courtney, what are your thoughts on this question?
Absolutely. I have actually already talked to the state of Michigan about if they had any opportunities. I would love to go back as a student buyer with the state of Michigan. I'm also currently, as I said, looking for internship opportunities. I've looked out to some private companies as well. So if I were not to directly go back to the state of Michigan next summer, I would like to find some companies, really get some heavy technology knowledge and use, and then eventually bring that back to whatever state procurement agency I would be looking into.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And that was our last question. And since we're running out of time, we're already over time, actually. We'll go ahead and we'll leave the question or stop the questions. But each of the panelists were kind enough to provide their emails on the first introduction slides and their LinkedIn. So they've told me, please feel free to reach out to connect with them and ask questions and get to know them a little bit more. And of course, this PowerPoint presentation will be posted in the community. So you can go back through the PowerPoint if you want to find some more information or pull information from what we've talked about today. One of the last slides I have was just on the way to connect with me here at NASPO. Like I said, I'm always connecting with students and the university partners and helping other members connect with their local universities and colleges. So please reach out to me. You'll find some awesome resources on our academic initiatives website right there at naspo.org. So please check those out. And then, of course, there is my email if you want to talk about recruiting opportunities, internships, or learning projects, or some of the new things that are happening with virtual internships. So please feel free to reach out to me. And last but not least, I just want to thank everyone who attended, including our three awesome panelists from Arizona State and Michigan State, Courtney, Dinesh, and Whitney. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules at your university and, of course, midterms and so forth to be with us. Some of the final notes I just want to make real quick before we log off is please fill out the survey at the very end, especially if you want to receive that one UPPCC credit hour. At the very end of that survey, there will be an email that you can put in, and we will send a certification or a certificate to each of those emails that were provided from the survey. And then, of course, if you want to connect with our student community that is right there in the NASPO network, please let Olivia, Maya, or myself know here at NASPO, and we will get you set up so you can connect with students in that community. Thank you all very much once again for attending. I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and have a very happy holiday season. And don't be afraid to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you very much, everybody.